students. This is teacher Chrissy, and today we are going to continue our lesson about living faster. Okay, so we are still on the same chapter, and previously or last week we talked about faster, and we had a debate about this topic. Okay, so I ask you if you agree that living faster is better, or you don't agree that living faster is better. And some of you mentioned that it's better to live faster because we will be able to finish more things faster and we will become more successful. But some of you also mentioned that it's not good to live faster because our health is also at stake, or we get more sick. Okay, and both parties are actually correct. Okay, so I also mentioned in my point of view that it depends. Okay, sometimes it's better, but sometimes it's also not good. Okay. Now, aside from we are living faster, this article, we also had an activity about comparative adjectives and adverbs, and we talked about the rules. How do we make it comparative? How do we what syllables do we add, and what are the rules in making comparative forms? Okay, so one rule that I can remember is if it's just one syllable, all you have to do is to add er. So, for example, fast is one syllable, you just have to add er and it becomes faster, which is the comparative form of the adjective. Now, if the word or the adjective has one vowel followed by one consonant, okay, all you have to do is to double the spelling of the consonant and then add er. So these are some of the rules, and I want you to remember the rules because once you remember the rules, it's easier to identify comparatives. Okay, now let's talk about this. Okay, I'm going to read this point of view. Okay, it says, but are we living better? It's actually the continuation of this article. Okay, and this is going to be the answer in our debate last time. Okay, so it says, but are we living better? Number one, no time for the news. Newspaper articles today are shorter and the headlines are bigger. Most people don't have enough time to read the articles, they only read the headlines. On TV and the radio, news readers speak more quickly than 10 years ago. All right, now let's talk about this. Okay, I agree in this statement here that we don't have enough time to read articles, even on Google. All right, or even in our online news platforms, we just read the title and then we don't read the article anymore. That's why fake news is all around the place. Okay, because sometimes the editors or the newspaper would just put fake news headlines just to catch the attention of the people. So if you're not going to read the article, you will not know that the news is really fake. Okay, for example, the the news article is, I'm going to write something here. Okay, so for example, the news article is Chrissy, sorry, ACT closed. So that's the name of the article. But inside the article, the news is actually ACT temporarily closed because of coronavirus. But their online classes are um their online classes are accepting more students. Okay? So this is the news. The news is ACT temporarily closed the school campus, the school campus because of coronavirus, but their online classes are accepting more students. But to make it, to attract people, the newspaper said ACT closed. So if you did not read this entire article, you did not read it, you're just going to read the headline, which is ACT closed. And then you tell your mom, oh, mommy, ACT closed. It's already closed. And then the news spread, like everybody knows, oh, ACT closed, right? But no one read the article. So this is the reason why we have a lot of fake news today, because most people don't have time to read the article. They just read news headlines, and this is really bad. Okay, now the second one is no time for stories. Okay, I love doing this to my son. Before going to bed, I would pick one of his favorite storybooks, and then I would read stories to him. Okay, the reason why I do it is because it was believed, there's a study about it, that the imagination of a child works better at nighttime or before going to bed. Okay, so if you read something to your child, it it boosts the imagination of the baby, and and they can become smarter. Okay, so let's read this one. In the USA, there is a book called 1 Minute Bedtime Stories for Children. These are shorter versions of traditional stories, specially written for busy parents who want to save time. Okay, imagine, this is really sad. Like, most of the parents in the United States, or even here in Cambodia, they work very hard. They work from 7 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. They spend so much time at work. And the only time they have for their children is when they come from work, when they come home from work. And the only time that you can bond with your child is by reading stories before bedtime. But you don't have time. You say you don't have time. I know I want to save time. Maybe I still want to work when I'm at home. So instead of me spending time with my child, I'll just read the 1 minute stories or bedtime stories for children. This is really sad, and I would never spend lesser time with my son. Okay, and if you have families in the near future, if you have families, and if you have your children, please make sure that you always have time for them. Okay, and then number three, no time to listen. Some answer phones now have quick playback buttons so that we can replay people's messages faster. We can't waste time listening to people speaking at normal speed. Okay, this is so sad. So we want it to be faster, so we fast forward. Okay, so do you do this even if you're watching? Say, I'm guilty about this. When I'm watching videos on YouTube and there are advertisements, I skip, because I don't want to waste my time, watching the advertisements. So, I mean, everybody's guilty about all these things. And the only thing that we can do is at least save time to relax, which is our next topic. It says no time to relax. Even when we relax, we do everything more quickly. 10 years ago, when people went to art galleries, they spent 10 seconds looking at each picture. Today, they spend just 3 seconds. Okay. Well, I'm not really a fan of art galleries. I've never been into one, so I'm not sure. But number five, let's talk about this one. No time for slow sports. In the USA, the national sport baseball is not as popular as before because it is a slow game and matches take a long time. Nowadays, many people prefer faster and more dynamic sports like basketball. Well, this is not really that true, because in the United States, football or baseball is still popular, but yeah, basketball is more popular, I would say. Okay, number six, but more time in our cars. Okay. So we want it faster, so everybody ends up buying cars. And the more cars you have, the more we we spend time in the streets because of traffic. This is very true in the Philippines. So I'm gonna share something before I read the final article. In the Philippines, I live in Manila. It's the capital of the country, and I live in Taguig City. It's a city. It's an industrial city in Manila, and the neighboring city is Makati. Okay, so without traffic, okay, I could just spend 5 minutes and I will be in Makati riding a taxi, okay, or driving. So 5 minutes from Taguig to Makati, or 5 to 10 minutes, let's say. Okay, but in the Philippines, the problem is cars are very, very cheap. Everybody can buy cars. Even the poor ones can buy cars because it's cheap, right? And we have a lot of plans for cars. Like you can buy a car, pay it on a monthly basis. Let's say you can pay $200 monthly, and or sorry, $300 monthly, and then you're going to get a car. So you pay for it for 5 years, but you pay 300 every month. So people just wants to have cars. And since there are so many people owning cars, when everybody drives home, everybody's in their cars. You will rarely see motorbikes in the Philippines. Everybody owns a car. And that's why when you're going home, say my work is in Makati, and I go home to Taguig, the 10-minute drive usually takes 2 hours to go home because of the traffic. Okay, that's the story. I talk too much. And then, okay, let's read the final article. The only thing that is slower than before is the way we drive. Our cars are faster, but the traffic is worse, so we drive more slowly. We spend more time sitting in our cars feeling stressed because we are worried that we won't arrive on time. Experts predict that in 10 years' time, the average speed on the road in the cities will be 17 kilometers per hour. Okay, so we've read the article. We are going to have a new lesson in